All right. So I have been thinking about this video for a while and what I'm going to say. So I wanted to just kind of have it for the record why I decided that I wanted to leave my actually super high paying software job to quit and become unemployed, I guess, and then just travel around. So um, right now, I'm in Tokyo, Japan, in the Shinjuku Gyoen, so like the Shinjuku Park, which is a beautiful park, although it is a bit uh, brown right now, if you can see. But it is still like a really beautiful area to walk around, and I figured this would be kind of a good place to sort of tell my story and uh, tell you kind of the mindset that I had when I decided that I was gonna give up my um, paying job. So a little bit of background about me. I'm Mark, uh, and I've been working at, or I was working at Amazon for about 4.5 years ish. Um, I was working on the Fire tablets. So if you guys ever uh, have used the Fire tablets, it's a low cost Android tablet. Um, it is uh, something that was primarily used by people who didn't want to buy it. I shouldn't say that. They're good tablets, right? It's primarily used by children and then budget conscious users. So I worked on Alexa, and then I also worked on a bunch of things on the operating system. So actually, the job that I had was it was a good job, right? Um, I think that there's a lot of these types of videos where people are saying like, "Oh, I hated my boss, I hated my job, I hated my coworkers, I dreaded going to work every day." I mean, honestly, I don't think that was the case with me. I think that I was actually in a position that a lot of people would sort of envy, right? Um, like I was pretty well respected in the company. I got along well with my coworkers. I had the same boss throughout. He was actually awesome. He was a guy like very spiritual. When I told him I was leaving, he was actually super supportive and a bit sad. But this is something that I always kind of wanted to do. So this has been like a thing that I have been planning for uh, like years actually. And it's been like a couple weeks since I left. So I've had a little bit of time to kind of digest, w- all of the kind of digest everything. So I think kind of the biggest reason that I decided to leave was um, for growth, really. So even though I was working on some interesting projects, they weren't my projects, and I felt like Amazon was just taking away a lot of my time. So I worked a lot with people in other countries, primarily India and or China. And if you don't know the time difference between California and India, I think it's 12 hours. Actually, it depends on daylight savings time, but yeah. So that would require a lot of early morning meetings and a lot of late night meetings. So there was times where I would have a meeting at actually is this okay, yeah. So there was times I would have meetings at 9 p.m. They might go to 11 p.m. and then have another meeting at like 7:30 a.m. So pretty much the only thing I would do is just like work, commute, and then it's like so I'd maybe wake up at like 6 a.m., 6:30 a.m. Uh, uh, eat some quick breakfast, go to work. So I'd arrive to work around like 7:30 a.m., or at least I'd arrive to the office. Then I would typically hit the gym for maybe an hour or so, maybe around 8:30 or so. I would go and then uh, uh, start the day at the office. So then I would typically be at the office until maybe 5:30, and then I'd go home, sit in traffic for maybe an well, it depends on the day, right? Maybe 30-40 minutes on a average day. It could be close to an hour on a bad day. On a really good day, maybe 20 minutes. But I was spending probably uh, easily an hour and a half in traffic every single day, and then I'd get home, eat a little bit, clean up after eating, maybe go on a quick walk. By that time, it's probably 7 p.m., 8 p.m. maybe, and then it was time to potentially do some more meetings, right? Meet with some of the folks in India, and it was a lot, right? Like it was like a pretty grueling schedule. Not to say like the stuff that I was working on wasn't interesting. It actually was pretty interesting. But the thing is it wasn't what I had planned, right? Like it wasn't like truly um what I wanted to do, right? So uh I have always been somebody who has liked to build stuff, right? Like I've always wanted to go and start a business, which I I still want to do. Maybe in a year or two, maybe 2027, maybe 2026. We'll see. Um, and but I've always just really liked building. So uh, I am a software developer, so I have the ability to build a lot of like cool projects, right? Uh, like I've tried to make companies in the past, and I've always sort of done it like halfway, right? I was never able to kind of dedicate all of my time and effort to actually building, right? Because um, I would always be focused on, uh, oh, I guess when you're working full time, you can't focus on things full time almost by definition, right? So I think that I don't know the right way to put this. It's like when you're working for somebody else, you always are going to be kind of focused on what they find important, right? Um, like if you're lucky, you'll get interesting projects, right? And if you're unlucky, you won't get interesting projects. And I think that it's less of an issue of like, is this project interesting? Is this project not interesting? The thing is you're building uh, a product for somebody else's dream, but not your own dream, right? And I felt like uh, when I was at Amazon, um, I wasn't living up to my full potential. I know that sounds kind of maybe a little bit ridiculous, right? To say like, oh, you're a senior engineer at like the top FANG company, like you're like, oh, Crimea River. It's like, yeah, I know, right? Um, uh, I was making big money. Now I'm sitting here on a Friday morning. I was up at like 3 a.m. because I'm pretty jet lagged. But yeah, I'm gonna be enrolling in a Japanese language school starting next week to try to pump up my Japanese. And this was something that I've always wanted to do, right? But I never had the time nor the opportunity to do, right? So, like, sure, maybe I could have focused more on studying Japanese when I was working, right? Maybe I could have listened to more podcasts or watched more content like after work or something. But the thing is I only had like an like realistically like an hour, maybe two of like, free time per day. And I felt like there just wasn't enough time to uh, do the things I like wanted to do. So I don't know. Maybe that sounds kind of whiny, right? I'm not sure, but uh, I always think about how life is like really short. So and this is like something that like I always like think about. So when I was young, I think I was in the second grade. Um, I remember seeing things on the news where, somebody die, or, there is some sort of like crisis that happened, on the other side of the world, or, whatever. And but nothing ever happened to me, right? So I remember having this thought when I was probably like 6 or 7. And I remember like, oh, bad things. Those only happen to other people. I like remember like distinctly having this thought when I was like super young. I was like, yeah, bad things. Those happen to people who aren't me, right? Like it's the people who are somebody else. They're the ones who get attacked at like a store, or they're the ones whose house burns down, or they're the ones who get sick. That doesn't happen to me. Like that's never happened, right? And then I remember like not long after I got the news that my sister had died, actually. So um she was like a baby at the time, maybe like 13 months, I forget, like under 2 years old. Allison Rose Kuzmarski, and she like my parents, they took her to a like a babysitter who was in a house like not that far away from us. Like you could actually see it from our like our front yard. So like our house was in like one cul-de-sac, and then they were in another cul-de-sac just like right across the street. So if you like we're in our front yard and you looked over to the left, like you could see their house. And that's where my parents took her. And then um the house, not to like blame my parents or anything like that, like you would never know this, because like the house was nice, the lady we thought was nice, like they did some vetting, I think, but it turns out that she like the babysitter was giving like the children adult doses of Benadryl, so that like they would sleep, and then she ended up like she hasn't like my sister ended up suffocating under the covers, and then since she was just like a baby, suffocated and died, and it became like really like kind of big news. My parents were on like a bunch of like talk shows, and like the news was over. It was like a media circus. But I remember when that happened, like I came home from school, and then I went to my mom's office, and then like one of her like a coworkers or assistants said to me like, "Oh, like your parents are at the hospital. They are um, like Allison stopped breathing. They're like looking into it. Like she was just life flighted." I was like, "Oh." Uh, and well, so another thing is I'm a twin so I have another sister who's my exact age, and I remember her name is Sarah. So I remember talking to Sarah, and I was like, "Oh, don't worry, Sarah. Like, there's a lot of good doctors. You know, it'll be fine. They're looking into it." And then I remember when I got a home, or like then later, I don't remember exactly, but I remember like a few hours later we got home, and then my dad came, and then like he had all of us like in a circle near like the house entrance. It was like the four of us or something. It was like me, my sister, my mom, and my dad. And then my dad's like, I have some bad news. He's like, yeah, Allison died. Um, and yeah, that was and then like, we all just like, you know, stood around and like cried. Uh, it was it, I don't know. That's when I realized that like, oh, like bad things can happen to me too. It's not just reserved for other people, right? Um, like our time on Earth is limited, right? We have like we never know like when our when our time is coming, right? Like you know, you could have like a healthy baby, like you're running around one day, right? Um, with literally nothing wrong, right? Uh, like I remember, like I think it was like the day before she died or something. She like ran to the neighbor's yard, uh, and then my mom's like, "Oh, go get her," and I was like, "I don't know, I don't know if I want to go get her. Seems like a big hassle." Uh, and then yeah, that I mean that was it, right? And then like the next day she died. I mean this was you know 25 years ago or something. Uh, but I still remember kind of like bits and pieces of it. And yeah, I guess the thing is that life just it's not guaranteed, right? So um, a lot of people say like, oh, it's good to save your money and um, like save for the future. And if you save $5 a day or whatever for 40 years, you'll retire a millionaire. Um, yeah, I mean, that's true, right? And I think for a lot of people, you know, so I mean, the average age in the United States, I think, is like 79, right? So if you make it to like past, I mean, infant mortality, I mean, look, the odds are that, I mean, you're gonna make it to 79, and if you're like fairly healthy, you could definitely make it into your 80s or 90s or even older, right? Um, but like it's not guaranteed, right? You could uh, go and uh, like I mean, be hit by the proverbial bus tomorrow, right? I mean, like we just don't know what life is gonna happen, right? And I think that also in life, um, like even if you're alive to let's say 80, right? You aren't that same person when you are uh you're how do I put this? Like you're not the same person when you're a child as you are when you're adult as you are when you're older. And I think that like we kind of have a lot of proverbial deaths so to speak, in like your lifestyle, right? So, um, for example, uh, when you go to high school, that's 4 years, and then after those 4 years, you're no longer a high school student anymore, right? So like you've got those 4 years, and then you've died kind of as like a high school student, right? Um, and you can't ever become like a high school student again, no matter how much you want to go back to being like a high school student. I mean, like, sure, you could technically like go back to school if you wanted to, right? Um, but it like wouldn't be the same. Like if you're 40 or even like 20, right? And you go back to high school, everybody's like, oh, who's the who's the old kid? Why do you get held back, right? It's just like you literally can't ever be like a freshman in high school again. Like you can't go and uh, be a high schooler again, right? Like, I mean, uh, time moves linearly, and as much as we would like to think that, like, oh, maybe like science will reverse aging, and maybe you could like go and live forever. I mean, maybe that's true, right? I mean, I think that there is potentially like a lot of advances in AI that maybe will help um, people live like a lot longer. But none of that's like guaranteed, right? I mean, I don't know. I think there was talks about like a meteor or something that was coming in the 2030s that could hit the Earth, right? We don't know. Um, could be anything, right? Like, I mean, there could be another pandemic wipe you out. I guess the point is you know the the next day in life is not guaranteed, right? Like we could die at any moment, and uh, like when the and you can never get back like stages in your life. So I'm 32 right now, and uh, like I recognize that I could never be in my 30s ever again, right? I mean, this is the only time. I mean, knock on wood. I'm like fairly healthy right now. I got like no major medical issues. Uh, I can, I could run, a few miles if I wanted to. I could do like some push-ups. There's no nothing wrong with me. I'm pretty good shape, right? Uh, but and if we're lucky, like I'm gonna continue being in good shape, right? Like I think that would be awesome if I could just like continue being in good shape forever, right? But it's not guaranteed, right? And like I don't want to wake up um one day like when I'm 80 uh and then look back and say, "Oh yeah, like I I worked for Amazon for like a 40-year career, and I just kind of went with the flow, and I uh like lived like a solid life, and I made some friends, and I had like a fat um retirement, right? I mean, maybe for some people that's like a what life well lived, and I think that it's it's not a bad life, right? But like I want I wanted more, right? I mean, like we only get like one go at this life as far as we know, right? And it's it's not clear, um, you know, what happens when you die, right? Like, I mean, pick your religion, right? Maybe I don't want to get into that necessarily, but it's like the only thing that we know for sure is that like we have like the life that is given to us, and I think that it's really important to live the life like the best we can because we only get like a certain amount of life points, right? Like I mean, like I don't know how long I'm gonna be like healthy enough that I could do international travel, right? Like I want to go and I want to see the world, right? Like I wanna go to I mean a lot of places, right? Like I mean I wanna go see China, right? I want to go to Hong Kong. I want to see that. I want to check out Shenzhen where they make the iPhones. I think that's like really cool. I want to go um, spend some time in Korea. I've been to Korea before, but only for a couple days. I want to go spend like, a little bit longer there. I want to explore Japan. I've lived in Japan for like a few years, but I wanna really like explore it more. Right. I wanna go check out Mongolia. I wanna go see where Genghis Khan lived. I wanna go, I don't know, meditate with some monks in Tibet. I wanna go explore Eastern Europe. I wanna go, uh, I'm gonna go to Portugal, spend some time in South America, maybe go to Australia. Never done that before. Um, there's a lot of things I wanna do, right? And, like, I think that, if I'm just like continuing to work at like if I just continue to work and then had my 2 weeks of vacation a year um yeah like I'd be able to see those things, but I want to go all in, right? Like I wanted to like really just like live life. Right? So uh I was talking to one of my best friends uh Shashank before I made this decision. So if you want to see about Shashank, I have a podcast about generative AI meetups. If you're called the Generative AI Meetup Podcast, if you are into like Gen AI, you could watch us talk. But Shashank is one of the smartest people I know. He has worked at Google for like 6 or 7 years, I think, and he worked at a few startups beforehand, and then uh, Shashank, he told me, he's like, "Yeah, I I saw going to Google as like a failure." I was like, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, yeah, I saw going to Google as like a failure." I know like that sounds ridiculous to like a lot of people, right? To see like, oh yeah, like Google is like a complete failure. But his mindset was so he worked at like a couple startups before he went to Google, and the startups like didn't work out. But like he kind of had this thought, like, yeah, I wanted to go create like a $100 million company or something, and I wanted to, uh, like live life at the next level. And um, he thought that like the startup uh, lifestyle would potentially give him like a major like success and riches and time and all these things. And uh, I guess like the team he was on, it just it didn't work out, right? And so then he uh, I think like his startup, or I don't know if it was his, but like the startup that he was on, it failed, and then he's like, all right, let me try to figure out what to do next, and then he applied to one job, and it was Google, and he got it, and uh, like he's been there for a while now. I think he's in like a good position, but he's like, yeah, Mark, I looked at this as like failure. because, like, I saw that, like, other, um like, I thought that I could, be doing so much more, um, and, yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm, like, really making my point here, about that, but I think the point is, like, I want, like, bigger and more, right? And I'm not satisfied with simply, like, doing okay, right? Like, I want, uh, to have a life, like, when I'm 80 and be like, "Yeah, like, I did that." Like I wanna look back at life and be like, "Yes, that was, like, an awesome life," and I don't wanna just optimize for money, right? Like, I mean, like, money is cool, right? Like, I like money. Um, like, I made, like, a decent amount. Like, I would sometimes look at my bank account, and, like, see how much I get paid, like, an Amazon, like, "Whoa, that's crazy." Like, that's a lot of money, but, um, it's like it wasn't, like, really, the goal. Like, I never, like, wanted, like, a fancy lifestyle, right? Like, I mean, I am perfectly fine with just, like, doing things that are, like, free, basically, right? Like, I mean, like, one of my favorite things to do is go on a hike and spend time outside and, uh, go for a run and, uh, build software programs and stuff. Like, these are, like, what I like to do. Um, and, uh, it doesn't take a lot of money to do that, right? And I think that my my, like my biggest fear in life is to look back when I'm 80 and then just, like, regret being okay. Because I think that, for me, like, I'm kind of with Shashank on this one, and I think that, like, just, like, doing well at, a career is kind of like a life wasted. I mean, like, this is for me, right? I don't want you to think that, like, you need to, like, follow in my path and, like, quit your job and, like, go travel the world or something like that. I really don't think I'm not saying that that's what you should do, right? Like, you should do what, like, you find, the most meaningful, right? Like, if you find your, like, if your dream is to just, like, have a good job and, like, a family and, like, a house and do barbecues on Sunday, like, that's awesome, right? Like, if that's, like, your dream, like, I see nothing wrong with that. Like, no, you don't have to do what I'm doing, right? Uh, like, if your dream is to just, uh, work at McDonald's, like, that's fine. Like, I'm happy for you. Like, whatever you wanna do, like, I hope that you you go and you do that, right? But I'm just telling you, like, what I, wanted to do, and I, would think, like, every day, like, when I was going to Amazon, I'm like, "Man, like, I'm not living my dream," right? Like, but, today I woke up and I said, like, I looked around and I was like, "Man, I'm doing exactly what I wanna be doing," right? And that is kind of the difference, right? And, uh, yeah, like, I mean, that's it, right? Um, I woke up today and I was doing I was able to do exactly what I wanted to do. Um, I've been like, well, I'm gonna try to turn this channel into a bit of a vlog channel so you could see, how the travels are going, right? walked around Tokyo a bit this morning. Had like a good place to eat, and then did some like video editing for my Gen AI meetup channel. But that was like what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to go explore Tokyo a bit, and I wanted to do the video editing. Like that's exactly what I wanted to do. And um like I don't know how to describe the feeling of like having like ownership of your own time, uh and like focused. And it's it's not perfect, right? I'm not like, I'm still trying to figure this out, right? Like I've only been doing this for a couple of weeks, right? But um like it's the most amazing thing in the world, to like fully own your day, right? Like I don't have anywhere that like I need to be, like because somebody like told me I had to be there, right? Um I don't have like some meeting that is like scheduled at the last minute. I don't have some like sync up. I don't have uh some like meaningless task that I need to do. Like I was able to like focus on like my my own stuff, right? And it's like amazing. And when I was working at Amazon, I got I got my first ever gray hair. Um and it was like a pretty like gnarly gray hair, and I was like, man, the stress is getting to me. Uh like it's like I need a break. Um I was doing this project for like a year, a little bit more than a year. And it was like my coworkers, if you guys are watching this, you know the project I'm talking about. I don't want to mention it here because it's not important, but there was like a work project that I was doing, and that was it was really hard. I was working like a lot of like weekends, um, and I was working, like easily 12-hour days. I'd work like, yeah, I mean, 12-hour days, like 7 days a week for like months. And I mean, like the last 6 months of the project, like kind of broke me. Um, and we were like pushing toward this deadline, that like needed to be done, uh, because of some arbitrary deadline. And then, by when the time for like we actually made the deadline, and then marketing decided like, oh yeah, we need some extra time. And I was like, "Ah, but I've been trying to, uh, but it's like, but I was trying, like I worked so hard, to like make the deadline, and then, leadership decides like, oh, we need a little bit more time, and they just pushed it back. I was like, oh well, like I could have had my life back, um, you know, um, and like no, I was like too busy, like working weekends. And I was too busy like working like 12-hour days to like I felt like my life was just like slipping away. And uh like I felt like I needed more. um you know uh I just I wanted I wanted more than just like grinding at work. And I know that, like, probably some of you guys watching are like, yeah, uh want you to like switch teams or just get another job or something. And I was like, yeah, but it's not what I want to do, right? Like it was never my dream to like go and work for somebody else. Like it was always my dream to go and then, live life on my own terms, right? I think that um how do I put this? It's like I think that when it's like it's like if you go with the flow, right? If you go and uh just like, kind of do what you're told, and like you're like the best employee, and you are the um you like always say yes to your boss and whatnot. Like you don't really own your life, right? Like you're living life on somebody else's terms. I mean, like, you still can have, like, a good life doing that, right? I mean, there's lots of people, like, no shame on people who do that, right? Like, there's nothing wrong with working for 40 years and then retiring with, like, your gold watch or whatever, and then, like, r traveling when you're 65. Like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Um, it's just not what, like, I wanted to do. And, yeah, so now here I am doing, like, what I want, and, like, it's awesome, right? Uh, um, I'm able to live life on my own terms now, and that's, like, it's something that money can't buy, right? To have this feeling of, like, unlimited possibility, it's both a little bit scary and, like, exciting at the same time, right? If that makes sense. Um, it's like just 'cause, like, you can do anything, right? It's like, I mean, you can do anything, right? So, I mean, like, if I wanted to, I could just, like, go sit and, like, watch YouTube all day, and that is something that no one's gonna stop me, right? So it's like, you have to have the motivation to not do that, right? Um, and, yeah, it's like, you have to be, like, kind of, like a self-starter, right? And I don't wanna paint this picture as, like, everything is awesome, right? Um, 'Cause, uh, it's not it's not perfect, right? Um, so, uh, like, I was used to, working, um, full time, right? So, like, money was, always kinda coming in, right? So, like, I could, somewhat spend, uh, not willy-nilly, right? Like, I wouldn't just go buy, like, expensive things all the time, but, like, I wasn't, like, looking at, uh, the the price of, like, groceries, like, really, like, closely, and, like, I wasn't, I don't know, but now, like, now the money stopped coming in, so it's like, "Alright, now I just need to make these savings make these savings work," right? And, I don't know when I'm gonna get paid again, right? So, um, like, my YouTube channel isn't monetized. I'm just making this video mostly for me, right? And for any of my friends who are curious. Like, if you guys are finding this interesting, like, leave a comment and let me know, um, if this, like, resonates with you, right? Uh, but, like, I'm not doing this channel for, like, fame or something. Like, I mean, that'd be cool, right? Like, I'm not, like, against being famous. I feel like that'd be kinda cool, right? But, uh, it's it's more of, like, I wanted to, like, share my, mindset with you guys, and, just kinda, share my thought process on, like, why I did this. But, yeah, it's like, now I just have to, like, make the savings work, and, I have some investments, so it's like, I'm doing alright. Like, I can probably last for, like a few years, maybe a little bit longer, depending on, like, where in the world I am, right? But, uh it's something that, like, I have to be, like, a lot more cognizant of, and also it's like, um, it's like a hard to like meet up with friends too. Like when when you're not working, it's like, well, everybody else around you is working, right? So it's like, what are you gonna do? Like say, oh, take the day off of work and come, let's hang out. It's like, no, um, you have to go and like, do something on your own, right? And like that's both awesome and like awful at the same time, right? So uh like so far it's good, right? Like I don't have like any issues with it, and I'm really lucky because my wife, Aya, she also like had the same mindset as me, so we quit our jobs around like the same time, and so like I'm able to hang out with her, which is awesome. uh right, like, and we're able to do things together, right? So we're able to, kind of uh, explore the world with each other. Uh, and I, uh, I want to say, like, how grateful I am to like her, and uh, like grateful that I am that like I have that, right. That like and I realize that, like, I probably sound, like, super privileged right now, saying, like, "Oh, yeah, like, I've got, like, enough money for a while," and, like, both me and my wife were able to, like, go do this, and yeah, uh, like, I recognize that this is, like, a place of privilege, and I know it's probably like, "Oh, like, cry me a river," right? You were a senior software developer at like a FANG company, and you probably have like tons of money, and uh you like, I don't know. It's like, yeah, like I am privileged, I guess. Uh like that's true. Like I'm like super lucky to be in the position that I am, and to be able to do this. So like I don't take it for granted. Like uh and I think, like, the reason why I was able to get into this position, was because, um, like, I, like, always, like, worked hard, I think, ever since my first paycheck when I was, like, 15. So when I was 15, I was a lifeguard making 8.05 an hour. Like, I was making $8.05. I think minimum wage was, like, 7.25. But I got paid 75 cents more because, I went through, like, an extra training. I was, qualified to teach swimming lessons, so they paid like, they gave me a 75 cents raise. So that's how I was making then, and then, um, when I got that paycheck, I, uh, invested it, and, uh, like, and then I spent a little bit of it, and then, but I was like, prioritize saving before I prioritize spending. So, if you're listening to this, like, one takeaway is I want you to focus on paying yourself first, right? So, whenever you get money coming in, set aside a little bit, right? Maybe 10%, 20, I mean, some of the financial advisors say 25%, whatever it is, right? Uh, put aside a little bit, even if it's like $5, right? Like put that aside, and then say like, hey, look, like, this is the money that I save. And then this will be like the money that I can spend, right? And then, like, as you make more money throughout your career, you get more experience, like, increase that savings rate, right? So, uh, if you're making like minimum wage at McDonald's, this might be like harder, right? But um, I think everybody can put aside something, right? Like, even if it's just like $1 a month, right? Like, you can save something. There's always like a little room, and that's like, say like, all right, like, no matter what, I'm gonna be saving this as like a minimum. Um, and then, like, even if you didn't invest it at all, right? Like, even if like you just put it in your bank account, earning like 0.2%. Now, if you're earning 0.2% on your bank account, find a different bank, find a high yield savings account, like Ally or Marcus or something. Um, like, get you your 4% or whatever. Like, go do that. But seriously, like, even if you just put in your Bank of America account paying 0% interest, like, um, that's gonna give you so much, like, flexibility going forward. And if you can invest that, and, like, earn a little bit, um, like, it's crazy, like, how much, like, that can grow. And then, doing that will help you, like, avoid lifestyle inflation 'cause let's say, just to make the numbers easy, right? Let's say you were making, $50,000 a year, right? And you said, like, "Alright, I'm gonna save, 20%," right? So you put away 10 grand if you can, right? Um, well, like, I don't know. I can't really I'm gonna embarrass myself trying to do the math right now. But let's say, like, after taxes, you actually, let's make the math a little bit easier. Let's say you made, like, $100,000, right? And then let's say that taxes, uh, took away maybe 20% of that. So, like, your actual take home, or let's say the tax took away, like, 25%. So, like, then your take home is, like, 75,000, per year. And then, you're gonna save, like, 10,000 throughout the year, right? So you divide that in the paycheck, you're a few $100, every paycheck that you'd put away, right? So then, uh, and then, like, let's say next year, like, you get a raise and you're making, like, 110. Well, um, I would suggest that you just, like, increase your savings to, not, like, $200 a month, but make it, like, 200 and $250 a month, or $250 a week, or 2 weeks, whatever. And then, like, when you get that raise, like, you actually didn't see, like, an increase in your bank account. So then, like, makes you feel poor a little bit. And then, like, your lifestyle doesn't, inflate. And then, like, you'd have more money to, like, go and then do what you want, right? So if you guys, are aware of, like, the FIRE movement, like, I kinda got into that where, uh you can, like, work hard and get out early, essentially, like, retire, like, the financial independence, retire early movement. Um, you can, like, go and then you can work, and, you can retire early. I'm not saying that's what I'm doing now. I'm not, like, specifically retiring, but I'm taking a little bit of time off, right? Um, and yeah, I mean, like, because I was, saving a little bit, and it grew over time, like, I'm able to do that. And, uh like, I think you could do this too. Like, if you put your mind to it, like, you get some skills, uh, you get, like, a job that's, like, decently well paying. Like, I think it's possible for anybody, right? To go and do this. Like, you can. So anyways, yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know who's still I don't know who's still listening at this point. It's already been, like, 53 minutes, I see. So I don't want this to be like a 2-hour video, but, um, I wanna leave you with the one kinda closing thought onto, like, the mindset. So I, have, like a friend, who, uh, made a really successful, uh, company in Singapore. It's like a cell phone company. And, I went hiking with him once, and I was kinda telling him, like, "Hey, I'm thinking about, like, leaving my job." And, um, uh, I was like, "What do you think?" And he actually had taken a year off, prior, and he said, Mark, it was the best thing I ever did." Uh, like, I never regretted taking that time off. Um, and, like, I grew so much as a person. And it's like, death will come for us all. And, it's like, you gotta, like, make the most of it. And, yeah, like he encouraged me to do it, right? Uh, and uh, like I don't want this video to get too long, but I talked to another person who was she worked in like palliative care, I think is what it's called, where she just like dealt with like a bunch of dying people all day. And she said that, some of these people they uh, would uh, die when they were like 70, 80, but then like other people died when they were like, it was super sad. They died like in the 20s or 30s. And she said, like, yeah, um, like leaving and like doing what you want is like just super wise. Um, and I, like pretty much everybody I've talked to about this, who's a little bit older, they say like, yeah, like I wanted to do that when I was younger, but then life got in the way, and I said, oh, maybe someday. But it's like, you know what? Like someday never comes, right? It's like if you want to do something, like you gotta you gotta plan for it, and you have to go do it, right? Um, like your boss isn't gonna come to you one day and be like, hey, why don't you just like take like a year off and go travel the world and go find yourself? Like, no, like if that's something that you want to do, like you have to go and like plan for it, schedule it, make a budget, like buy the plane ticket, right? Like you're not going to just like have adventure like fall in your lap. Like you have to go and then like you have to create the life that like you want to create, because no one is going to create it for you, right? Like no one's going to look out for you more than you, right? Like nobody cares. Like seriously, nobody. I mean, like maybe your parents and stuff like care about you, but like in general, like I think that like nobody really cares about like what about you or like what you're doing. So like go and live your life, right? Like do what you want to do. Like if you want to go paint, if you want to do music, like go do that. I mean, don't be reckless, right? Like don't like burn all the bridges and you know tell your boss to shove it on your way out. Like that's not good, right? Like the world is small and you never know who you're gonna like run into um again, right? All right, what more little story. uh Before I worked at Amazon, I worked at this company, um and I was working on the cryptocurrency wallet, and my manager actually at that company, uh he left, and he became another manager at Amazon. So, like maybe 6 months, a year after I left Amazon, he messaged me on Slack. He's like, "Oh, hey, Mark, I'm working here now." I was like, "What?" Uh, it's like you never know, right? Um, like like always be good to people. Seriously, like it doesn't do well to burn bridges. It's important to like always maintain the relationships with the people you have. And even if you get nothing out of the relationship, it's just like it's good to be a good person. And life is a lot easier when you when you treat people well and with respect. Uh, and um, yeah, like you can do it, right? Like I believe that like you can do it. Like I had my own reasons for wanting to leave, and I don't want you to think about like, oh yeah, this is like I'm just like focused on death. It's like, well, I mean, like I think that death gives life um some meaning, right? It's uh like a lot of people come to me and they say like, oh Mark, like you're the most one of the most positive people I know. Uh and it's like, yeah, because every moment is a gift. And that's what they call it, the present, right? Uh, it's like we gotta uh, just live every day as if it's your last because it might be. And it's like if I died today, I wanted to like die knowing that like I was doing like what I wanted to do. And yeah, that's it. It's like I think that's it, right? Like uh I wasn't running away for something. I wanted to uh go and do this for a really long time. And here I am. I'm doing it. I'm living the dream now and so far so good. Uh yeah, like if I was working I would never have the ability to record an hour long rant in the park um on a Friday morning. And I hope you got some value out of this. I hope you like are able to see some of my mindset. I'm gonna try to make more videos and share with you my thoughts. But yeah, that's it. So yeah, thanks for listening. If you're not subscribed, do so. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think. Tell me like what your dreams are, like what you want to do. If you made this long, like thank you for listening to me. Like I appreciate that. Like there's a lot of things you could be doing with your time, and the fact that you decided to listen to me for an hour is like awesome. So like seriously, thank you. And yeah, leave a comment. Let me know like what you want to do, and if I can help in any way, I'll try. Like maybe I could introduce you to somebody or uh, help you out in any way. If you just like want to talk, like maybe you could reach out to me. I don't know. Uh, Let me know in the comments and I'll try to respond. So yeah. Anyways, that's it. Thanks, guys. And I'll catch you in the next one.